God said to Abraham, kill me a son. Abe said, God, where do you want this killing done? God said, out on Highway 61. And so, like most people, I'd read parts of the Bible, and like most people who have read parts of the Bible, I thought I knew the Bible. But it wasn't until a couple winters ago that I finally decided to read it cover to cover. I was living in the Bible Belt, so besides Gone with the Wind, I felt I needed to know my King James. I was awed by the Hebrew Bible, particularly 1 and 2 Samuel and 1 and 2 Kings. I found the stories profound, strange, sometimes gruesome, and always darkly beautiful. And I loved Ecclesiastes. Vanity, vanity, all is vanity. Says it all, no? The point being we must muddle through as best we can, despite the void. Then the Gospels, particularly the Gospel of John, a transcendent vision, followed by St. Paul. What a salesman. I wouldn't buy a used car from him, but if I owned a PR firm, I'd want him running it, after he had some sensitivity training concerning his gay and female employees. Now, if you think I'm being blasphemous, forgive me, but it's my right. Mel Gibson doesn't own the Bible. Pat Robertson doesn't own the Bible. The Bible is public domain. You can make of it what you will, and you don't have to believe every word to enjoy the wisdom of the ages. But, friend, it is a long read, so I do suggest a comfortable chair. Shut up and meditate. Yes, it's that old-time religion hour. We're on the road to Zebulon, North Carolina, going to buy a pair of leather chairs to set in front of the fireplace. I tell Sweetie that Zebulon was a son of Jacob and one of the 12 tribes. She rolls her eyes. I say, the South is drenched in the Bible and that I feel like I'm learning the lingo. Sweetie doesn't want to hear about it, but I ramble on. It's a beautiful winter afternoon. It's cold, but the sun is shining and the pines are green. I stick Johnny Cash's 2000 studio album, produced by Rick Rubin, into the CD player in the minivan. After Johnny does a cover of Tom Petty's I Won't Back Down and Neil Diamond's Solitary Man, which really gets Sweetie groaning as I sing, Sue came along, loved me strong, that's what I thought. Me and Sue, but that died too. Then Johnny sings a song about a prisoner on death row facing the electric chair, which he refers to as the mercy seat. I say, Sweetie, see how reading scripture is paying off? It's everywhere. I explain that the mercy seat is where God sits in the Ark of the Covenant, and that God appears as smoke to speak to Moses, and that's why the guy in the song imagines the smoke pouring out of his own head. Finally, just before they pull the switch, the convict admits that he is guilty, and I'm finding my inner man in black, and I miss my exit. But I'm still grooving, and soon the minivan is back on the MapQuest course, and Johnny has moved on, and he's repeating over and over, you know I've got a darkness, you know I've got a darkness. And fortunately for Sweetie, we arrive at the furniture store. Inside, the store is cavernous, room after room of furniture, which is why we made this special trip. The 2 leather chairs are my idea. That's why I'm so enthusiastic about going to a furniture store, which to me is usually like having my gums scraped. New Year's before last, we went to Charleston and stayed in the Wentworth Mansion Hotel that was built as a private home in the late 1880s and is one of the gems of the historic district. There was a small library in the mansion with 2 worn leather chairs and a table with crystal canisters holding port, sherry, and brandy. It was enormously elegant, and I imagined Rhett Butler was in the chair next to me. This is after Rhett had left Scarlett in Atlanta for good to return to the family in town that had spurned him in his youth. So a couple of chairs, a couple of decanters. Rhett might be enticed to visit me in Raleigh. We could sit by the fire and get tanked on brandy, and he could tell me about gun running during the Civil War, and he'd be just the eclectic sort to know all kinds of Bible trivia, the weird stuff. I picture us nicely blitzed, and Rhett is still a fierce non-believer, so we don't rhapsodize about the light and the way, no. We dive into the sex scenes. Do you think that Solomon got it on with the Queen of Sheba? And why did the men of Sodom want to gang rape the 2 angels staying at Lot's house? I'm telling him it's something out of Oz, like Vern Schillinger and his Aryan Brotherhood. Rhett doesn't have cable, so I explain, and he reminisces about his old friends who hid under the hood in the early Klan days, and then gets defensive, saying he never joined in and that he was never a racist, and he's telling me about that fine petticoat he gave Mammy when I hear Sweetie saying, honey, what do you think? Huh? The chair, she says, points. It's okay, I say, but not what I had in mind. For the first time since our arrival, I focus on the task at hand. Sweetie tells me to be open-minded. That is not a large space we have to work with in front of the fireplace, so that maybe we should consider just 1 chair. I tell her that would defeat the purpose. The point is to have conversations face-to-face, a small table between us, to put the snifters and a table behind for the decanters. I don't tell her about Rhett, although she would be less vexed about me spending time with him than with Ezekiel or John the Baptist. Sweetie takes me by the arm. She senses I'm starting to drift and that I'm overwhelmed by all the furniture. And as if she is holding a balloon by the string, she drags me by the arm, leading me from room to room and repeating that I need to be open-minded because what I want might not be available. And soon I realize she's right. There are all kinds of chairs, but none are what I visualized. This causes me to have one of those epiphanies that are both worrisome and telling about my relationship with reality. I confessed to Sweetie that this store is totally different than what I expected, and that what I imagined was a store that sold nothing but black leather chairs of various shapes and sizes designed specifically for the purpose I had in mind. Sweetie shakes her head. She knows I'm not joking, and I'm not. I don't fret. I adjust quickly to the situation. I sit in several chairs, some high back, some low and plush, some with reclining backs, some stiff and formal. I find one I like, but there is a tag on it indicating it is sold. We meander from room to room, and soon we are not sure where we've been and where we haven't been because it feels like a big maze. Glad I'm not a mouse looking for some cheese. A voice comes over the intercom and announces that the store will close in 5 minutes. Sweetie seems disappointed that our mission hasn't been successful, but I say, this is just a test run. Have to see what's out there after all, and I repeat back all the other homilies she is always telling me when I'm getting impatient shopping. I'm upbeat, and even though it won't be easy to find the chairs I want, something else is delighting me. What I'm visualizing is that after the crowd of shoppers who have made the pilgrimage to Zebulun are ushered out the door, a whole new crew might shuffle in. But these people aren't shoppers. They're the actual denizens of the joint. Whole families who live in these dozens and dozens of rooms by night, as if all the houses on the block have been put under one roof. Or maybe not families. The Whitley would make an ultra-hip nightclub where partiers could hobnob from room to room. Of course, some reliable maid service would be required so the furniture would be spotless and ready to sell to the public the next morning at 9 o'clock. Then I think, what a great house for an eccentric millionaire. I'm still working out the possibilities when we finally shuffle out. There's no problem finding our way out of town. Soon we are again surrounded by trees and the sun is sinking, and out of the corner of my eye, I see a reddish-brown bird, like a starling, but I think it is something else, maybe a purple finch, and the bird takes off into the woods in a flash of red. The red imprints on my mind like a grace note, and I think about Thoreau and Walden Pond, and I pop Johnny back into the machine, and he's singing One, the great U2 song, full of more Bible imagery. From Thoreau, I skip to Ralph Waldo Emerson and the concept of transcendentalism, a belief that nature is divinity and that the individual has the power within to be happy or sinless. I feel happy and sinless, and I'm picking up on the sexual imagery mixed in with the Christ imagery in the U2 song, and John Humphrey Noyce slides into mind. Noyce promoted a doctrine called perfectionism. He founded a utopian community in upstate New York in the 1840s based on a theory called complex marriage, where any man and woman might freely be bedmates. This is when the light bulb goes on. What could be a better business for a wild and woolly utopian free love community in the heart of the Bible Belt than to run a huge furniture barn? Every night would be a freewheeling, free love fest, and by day, good quality furniture at low prices. I would add a second showroom, modest in scope, say 10,000 square feet. I'm seeing a variation of leather chairs set in cozy rooms with fireplaces. I'm seeing a place where the utopians could go for a quiet tete-a-tete on nights when they didn't feel like servicing or being serviced. I mean, truth is, there are times in any marriage, and especially when you are married to the whole community, when a good chair and a good book, or maybe a brandy and a nice chat with civil company would hit the spot more than race your fare. Maybe when I was younger, the perfectionist might have been for me, but now, God knows I don't need the stress of worrying about what Rhett Butler and the missus are doing in the bed and bath display room. I look at Sweetie, I blow her a kiss, and say, I love you, dear. She says, yeah, I love you too. Just keep your eyes on the road.
It's a cheesy, mixed up double world. Would you like some double speak? She said, we were about to meet. I'm not from here, but so are you, though I may be back next week.